You ever stop and wonder what happens after people disappear into the desert? What happens after they cross the border but never reach where they were supposed to go? Because when people talk about immigration in America, they usually talk politics, walls, policies, elections. But what often gets ignored is the underground economy thriving in the shadows of that debate. A criminal system moving human beings across continents, and according to investigators, worth billions. Today, we're looking inside America's human smuggling underground, and trust me, the deeper you go, the darker it gets. Most people hear the word smuggler and imagine a lone coyote guiding migrants through the desert. But many investigators say modern smuggling often looks far more organized than that structured, networked, industrial. According to reporting from Reuters and U.S. Point, federal investigations, human smuggling routes tied to organized criminal groups have grown into sophisticated transnational systems. In one 2024 Reuters investigation, reporters traced smuggling networks charging migrants as much as $72,000 per person, exposing operations that looked less like traditional smuggling and more like global logistics businesses. And when you begin tracing how those systems work, you stop seeing isolated crime. You start seeing infrastructure. People may leave Ecuador, Venezuela, Guatemala, Haiti, travel through multiple countries, move through safe houses, pay layered fees, cross criminal corridors, and somewhere along the route, they may enter systems controlled by smugglers or cartels or both. And that is where the story changes. Because many experts say this is not simply migration exploiting smugglers, it can be smugglers exploiting migration. There's a difference. And a dark one. Some investigators describe routes where migrants pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, to be moved north. But the price doesn't always end there. Debt can follow. Extortion can follow. Violence can follow. And according to multiple investigations, some migrants have been held in stash houses while families are pressured for more money. Imagine surviving jungles, deserts, checkpoints, only to be kidnapped after arrival. That raises a question: when does smuggling become trafficking? Because the line may be thinner than many realize. The United States Department of Homeland Security has repeatedly warned criminal networks can exploit migrants through forced labor, sexual exploitation, ransom, extortion, and debt coercion. Once you see those overlaps, this stops looking like transportation. It starts looking like an underground human marketplace. And then there are the routes themselves: desert crossings, tunnel routes, river routes, hidden vehicle compartments, commercial trucking channels, safe house chains, like arteries feeding a hidden economy. And maybe the most disturbing part is how adaptable these networks can be. Pressure rises in one crossing zone, routes move, enforcement increases, methods evolve. Walls go up, tunnels appear, the machine adapts. That's what organized crime does. Now ask yourself something: who profits from all this? Because follow the money, and this story opens wider. Fees from migrants, ransom payments, fraud, extortion, money moving through informal transfer systems, shell businesses, cash couriers. And according to investigators, sometimes larger criminal organizations may tax or control segments of smuggling corridors, meaning movement itself can become monetized territory. Let that sink in. Human movement as criminal revenue stream. And once you understand that, you realize this may not just be about desperate people crossing borders. It may be about one of the most lucrative hidden economies in North America. And then there are the disappearances, because not everyone makes it. Some vanish in deserts. Some drown. Some are abandoned. Some are never accounted for. And maybe that is one of the least discussed parts of this story. The missing. The people whose journeys simply end in silence. And those silences hide things. Because where oversight disappears, abuse can flourish. Now here is where this investigation gets even darker. According to cases pursued by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, some smuggling rings have allegedly operated through layered cells. Recruiters, transporters, stash house operators, document forgers. That doesn't sound like ad hoc crime. That sounds organized. And it is not new. In a major U.S. investigation known as Operation Seek and Keep, authorities dismantled what officials called one of the largest alien smuggling enterprises in American history, spanning multiple continents. That mattered because it showed something critical. This was never just border crime. It was transnational organized crime. And in more recent prosecutions, federal authorities have accused smugglers of moving migrants hidden in tractor-trailers, crates, even water tanks, cases that investigators say revealed growing brutality inside these networks. Some analysts compare parts of these systems to logistical businesses, routes, supply chains, risk management, except the commodity is human beings. And maybe that is what makes it so chilling, because exploitation can become administrative, routine, almost invisible, hidden inside systems that look ordinary. And then there is another layer: corruption risk. Investigators globally have long warned organized smuggling often depends on corruption vulnerabilities, bribed officials, fraudulent documents, compromised checkpoints. And once corruption enters the story, crime stops looking isolated. It starts looking protected. And every time that possibility appears, the same question returns. Who benefits? Who looks away? Who profits? Because if criminal systems are shielded by power, then the problem may run deeper than border crime. It may touch governance, and maybe the biggest misconception of all is thinking everyone moved through these systems is simply a willing customer. Some may be, some may not. Coercion can emerge mid-route. Debt can become bondage. Promises can become traps. That is why many experts insist smuggling and trafficking cannot always be treated as separate worlds. Sometimes they intersect. And where they intersect, things get dark fast. Now think about the psychology of desperation. What makes someone trust smugglers? Usually hope, safety, family, survival. And hidden economies often feed on desperation. Exploit need, monetize vulnerability, scale it. And maybe that is exactly what some networks have done, which is why this story matters beyond politics. Because it is not just about borders. It is about hidden criminal systems profiting from human movement, and maybe even industrializing it. Now imagine moving through a desert at night. No water, no maps, following a guide you barely know, and realizing halfway through you may be trapped in a system much larger than the crossing itself. That fear is hard to imagine. But for some, it may be reality. And maybe the most haunting thought of all is that somewhere tonight, someone is moving through one of those corridors, trusting the wrong guide, owing the wrong people, walking toward a destination that may not exist. And somewhere else, someone may be trapped in a stash house waiting for family to pay ransom. And if that possibility doesn't disturb you, it should. Because behind migration headlines, there may be hidden criminal economies few people ever see. And that is the untold story. Who controls the routes? Who launders the money? Who protects the networks? And who gets held accountable? Because until those questions are answered, the corridors remain, the disappearances remain, the shadows remain. And criminal empires built in shadows fear one thing more than borders: light. And tonight, we turn some on. This is Untold by AJ.